Welcome to this session, where we would like to bring to your attention and bring you up to date to the tragedies unfolding in occupied Baluchistan. In 1948, this month, a sovereign state of Kalat was invaded and occupied by Pakistan Army. And since then, the Baloch have risen up to fight for their dignity and freedom. Tens of thousands have died since, and yet very few people outside the conflict zone are aware of the 5 wars of independence that my parents' generation and now my generations are fighting. We have been asked what people want to do for the Baloch. Why are we fighting? I will let the other speakers dwell on this history of the conflict and suggest how best to protect the human rights of the Baloch people in Pakistan. But I will limit my talk today to 3 issues that need urgent consideration. First, the ongoing military operation being carried out across occupied Baluchistan. In the Dera Bukti area of our land, just last week, over 100 youths have been killed by the Pakistani military, and hundreds of homes have been destroyed by helicopter bombings and shellings. We demand an immediate halt to Pakistani military operations in Baluchistan, and UN-sponsored talks between the leaders of Baloch freedom struggle and the Pakistani military and their puppet government should be held. Second, we should have confirmed reports from the battle zone and Pakistan Army, and this is very important. Pakistani Army is now involved in the illegal business of organ trade, where the hearts, kidneys, and livers of dead Baloch Sarmachars are being taken out from their bodies and sold in the black market by the Pakistani Army. This is very alarming news. Almost all the bodies of the dead Baloch youths have come back with their vital organs missing. We want the UN to investigate the war crimes being committed against the Baloch nation by the occupying army. And the third issue I wish to raise today is to request the UNHRC. We ask Ms. Pillay to please get personally involved in order to investigate into the issue of missing persons or the Baloch who have been abducted from their homes and have been literally disappeared. Over 15,000 Baloch youth have been abducted, and now we have a discovery of mass graves inside Baluchistan. She should send a special representative to the hundreds of people found in the mass grave to discover through DNA who were these people, the discovered bodies of whom. In today's day and age, how can we as humanity stay still while our fellow humans are being eliminated with such callous disregard for victims of this genocide? I thank you very much.
Amnesty International is pleased to be here to talk about a very sad situation in Balochistan. We have been following the situation in Balochistan for over 30-40 years. But today, I have been asked to speak about the disappearances, extrajudicial executions, and other human rights abuses. When you look at Balochistan, the trouble started immediately after independence. There were revolts, but intense human rights abuses started during the last 10 to 15 years when disappearances started. Disappearance is something when military or police take you into custody and then denied accountability, denied that they have that person in custody, or completely know the reality that they are taken into custody. The other issue that we are monitoring and we have documented intensely is extrajudicial executions, that is plain assassination of political opponents. These 2 major abuses have been taking place in Balochistan because in that volatile region, the Baloch people have been raising their voices for their rights. Some are fighting for independence, some may not, but overall they have been singled out because they belong to an ethnic group called Baloch in Pakistan. We have documented thousands having disappeared. They have targeted lawyers, journalists, activists, anyone come in the way. Usually, the frontier corps security officers are the ones who will take the lead in arresting these people. And along with them, there will be intelligence officers, private intelligence officers, in plain clothes, who will be accompanying them and taking these people into custody. One thing that bothers me, or amazes me, is that, I have been doing human rights work for quite some time and covering human rights issues around the world. And there are disappearances in Latin America, Africa, in Asia. But usually the people who abduct don't have the identity. They come plain clothes, they come secretly. In this case, in Balochistan, they don't even hide their identity. It is the frontier corps. They just come and say, come on. Another interesting thing, or the sad thing in Pakistan, is that people who have been abducted without any judicial warrant and disappeared, they keep them in custody and torture them for a long, long time, which is also unusual in other countries. In other countries, when someone disappears, you can pretty much conclude that that person is dead and gone, especially after a month or two. But here, we have seen, after 2 years, I have seen people reappear in very bad shape after the Supreme Court of Pakistan got involved in this case. So having said that, the government always denied, as usual, that disappearances are the work of intra-Baluch fight. But our records and our assessment says it is the Pakistani security forces and the intelligence services that are responsible for this one. There is another terror element. When they take these people out, the families have very difficult time raising their voices. They themselves could become disappeared. So out of fear, they will keep quiet. And we also have seen families of political activists have been kidnapped and disappeared. 2 months ago, a 10-year-old child disappeared in Pakistan because he belongs to a political family. It's nothing new, by the way. This is something I'm mentioning because it happened only 2 months ago. The justice never happened. No one had been held accountable. The other one they do is extrajudicial executions. It is to inflict terror in the minds of Baluch people. They take people, execute them, torture them, and throw their bodies around Balochistan. That to send a chilling message to the people of Baluch that if you speak out, this will happen to you. Even small children have been executed and their bodies were thrown in the streets. Multiple bullet wounds. This kill and dump strategy is basically a terror strategy by the Pakistani government. And now you have heard, some of you, there are mass graves that were found. When that happened, usually there is international attention and the security forces will be very careful. But here, the frontier force, the frontier security force, they went and surrounded that area and did not allow civil society or family members to go there. Worst, when family members try to go to the hospital to see whether they are family members, their identity, they were kicked out by the security force. That's happening today, right? It's not 6 months, 1 year ago. Then again, the other issue is the abuse of weapons that were given to Pakistani government because to fight quote-unquote war and terror. Those weapons were used against Baluch people. Bukti, the famous leader Bukti, he was in a cave. His identity, his location was found out because of the weapons that were given to Pakistanis, listening devices, and they used the bunker busting bombs to kill him. When we raised the issue with foreign governments and the Pakistani authorities, they said we can't do, we are getting weapons, so we have to use it whichever is happening here. So overall, the challenge today is how to stop these disappearances as well as extrajudicial executions from taking place in Balochistan. Number one, people who have committed abuses, not the soldiers only, even the senior leaders should be brought to justice. For whatever reason, President Musharraf, for different reasons, he is in custody now. The clock turns, and one of the abuses, one of the issues that's been brought was Bukti's killing, and also we are pushing for disappearances during his time. During his time, large number of Baluch people were executed. So there are justice happening, but we want more justice. We want to make sure that there are international presence when these mass graves was excavated. Overall, we are in a position today as a human rights organization that here is a region, or here is a country where it's getting so much attention because of war and terror. But on the other hand, very little attention is paid to one province of that country where massive human rights abuses are happening there. Even the chief minister is not spared. Chief minister's party's secretary general disappeared. Chief minister himself said, my party secretary general is in secret detention or disappeared. That says it all. So the world body, international human rights organizations and the UN, is a challenge. How to bring attention that's being paid in Pakistan for war and terror to also focus on the people in Pakistan, namely a group of people called Baluchis. That's a challenge. We all should work together. We can't go on like this for another 5 years after another 10,000 people got disappeared. So accountability and international monitoring is extremely important and necessary. So events like this, we hope, will raise some direct pressure and attention to the specific issue of extrajudicial executions and disappearance. Until and unless that's done, Pakistan as a country, or Pakistanis as people, will never succeed. And the direct challenge is to the other ethnic groups, especially Punjabis, to speak out about this particular issue of disappearance and extrajudicial executions. We hope that will happen if we put pressure on. We hope these events will open the eyes of Pakistani authorities, now we have a new administration, to see whether anything can be done to stop this free rein from given to the Pakistani security forces and intelligence services to run amok and abuse the people because of their identity, in this case Baluch identity, and to completely disappear them and terrorize the population. Thank you for inviting me.